Hello, and welcome to the Sugar Bell Review, a program dedicated to learning about the people, places, and policies that make up the Bellbrook Sugar Creek community. Thank you for joining us this evening. Tonight we have with us Nick Kulesza. He is the Citizens for Sugarcreek Schools PAC Treasurer, correct?
Yep, that's me.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. You're usually one of our cameramen, so this is fun to have you come join me on the stage.
I have to step outside of my comfort zone. I can't play defense behind the camera and work the focus. That's the easy job. Now I actually have to be in the hot seat and be interviewed, but that's okay. You know, we'll have a little bit of fun with this and just relax.
Well, it's not like I get a chance to talk to y'all very often. I'm usually up here, so this is a good chance.
Well, then you're the pro.
A good chance to get you to maybe spill a little bit of the who and the what and the how. So why don't you let us know, who are you and how did you end up in Bellbrook, and a little bit about yourself.
So I'm that crazy guy that drives the big giant Amazon looking van, the Goobermobile that's got the 15 passenger that you might see.
Is that what you call it? The Goobermobile?
Yeah, the Goobermobile. My wife, she is a troop leader for Girl Scouts, so it makes it more convenient when they have troop outings and stuff. But yeah, we've got 4 kids, and we've been here in the greater Dayton area since 2012. We were active duty Air Force officers, and as our family grew, we wanted to settle down a little bit, and we were looking at areas to call home, areas to make it our forever home, and we looked at Bellbrook and we just fell in love with the town. It's a great town, and it's a great place for families that have kids if they're looking for quality education in schools. That was probably the number one reason why we decided to settle down here in Bellbrook. So we've been here since about 2014, about 6 years, going on 7 years now. So it's been great neighbors, and I've met a lot of great people, including you and Josh and the rest of the crew here on the Sugar Bell Review. So it's been a lot of fun.
It sounds like it. And you are at the base still too, or have you retired completely?
Yeah, so I had separated from the military. I hadn't had enough time yet to retire, but yes, I still support the base just as a civilian.
Okay.
I went to school at the Air Force Institute of Technology. That's our degree awarding program. So I've got a master's degree in computer science with a focus on cybersecurity. So I spent time there. I did my thesis research. It got cited in a U.S. patent, and then I transitioned to faculty, where I started teaching my expertise with cybersecurity in areas that didn't quite anticipate they were going to have to need to defend against cyber attacks.
Well, as everything's gotten to be far more digital, it would make sense that far more aspects of our life require a little bit more protection.
Indeed. Well, everything's just becoming more connected, and we live in this information era now where everything is available at a click.
Yeah.
So you have that sort of instant gratification if I need it, and I need it now.
Well, our refrigerators have internet in some cases, so yeah.
I actually use a funny example because I talk about stuff where there was like a cyber attack, a successful one.
Okay.
You can look this up online, but there was a casino that their database got hacked, and the way that they got in was through the thermostat on a fish tank, because it was one of those smart fish tanks that was connected, that you can just
like a nest for a fish tank.
Yeah. See, you don't think about that kind of stuff. Oh, I'm just going to have these fish, and I don't have to worry about this database full of whatever it was that was compromised. So I try to protect against that kind of stuff from happening.
Okay. Is that how you tell it? You explain your job to other people? I protect fish tanks.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Defender of fish.
Now, does your wife work at the base too?
She supports the base, yes. So we were both communications officers. So base comm, you got your networks and computers. A lot of times it was just making sure that people had access to email and that they could do what their intended function was. But there's a lot that goes into communications. You know, you got the cabling and the firewalls and boundary protection and all that stuff. When you look at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, that's a huge installation, so there's a lot of infrastructure that goes into that. So she still supports the base as well. Okay.
Now, what would she do? I mean, you say you protect fishes. What would, what would maybe her job description? Because I'm curious now. Cybersecurity sounds kind of Jason Bourne, you know.
Does,
I mean, aside from the fish.
One of the big places on base is NASIC, the National Air and Space Intelligence Center. We got thousands of people there, so and they've got a huge mission. And a lot of what she does is at that higher level. So you know, it's one of those, I have to if I tell you, I'd have to kill you kind of thing. No,
okay, well, hi honey, how's your day,
Yeah, it was good.
It was good.
It's about as far as it goes.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Fair enough. Josh had a bit of time where that was about the only kind of conversation we could have,
Really?
but very quickly he moved on in his career and got out of the, well, it was a nice day level of conversation. Well, that sounds fun. And you said you've got 4 kids?
I have 4, yes, and they're still pretty young. 8, 7, 5, and 3. Yeah, 8, 7, 5, 3. Every time they have a birthday, I've got to, update the script. And
it gets worse the older they get, because then you got even more years to think, wait, how old are they now?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Well, that sounds like fun. So you sound pretty busy just in general, but you also find time to obviously volunteer if you're part of the PAC. So how did you get involved in that? Was it through the school?
No, not through the school. The PAC is actually very much separate from the school. So sometimes I can be misconstrued like the PAC is the school or vice versa. Not true. We are entirely citizens. We volunteer our time. We support the schools in the sense that we want quality education, and we want to do what we can to run an effective campaign whenever there's a school levy that's on the ballot. So we don't get any support in the sense of like monetary contributions from the school.
Not from the school itself,
No.
but individuals on their own private dime
The
as
community.
citizens, regardless of whether they work for the school or not, can donate, correct?
Correct. Citizens, they can donate, and usually it's like monetary contributions. We get a check. We have a website up, so
Okay.
we can check out the website if you want to do online payment. That we're just trying to make it easier for folks. And then there's also in-kind contributions, like if they provide a service. So those are things in which I'm responsible as a treasurer to be able to capture all of
Coordinate.
those into a report.
Now, do you also handle trying to get donations from not just citizens, but businesses as well?
Yep, we send out a letter reaching out to local businesses if they are able to support the PAC. And so if they do, that's something that I'm responsible for capturing in our report as well.
That sounds like a lot of paperwork.
It can be, excuse me, but it's required. It has to be done, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to step in and help you guys out. You can't do it all yourself as co-chairs. There's a lot that goes into the PAC as far as subcommittees are concerned. Before COVID became a thing, we had folks that would go door to door. They would the phone bank as well.
In charge of the signs, making
signs,
sure people got their signage.
Yeah, people would order signs, but there's a lot that goes on behind it. You got to manufacture the signs, you got to receive them, you got to distribute the signs, you got to check and make sure that they got the signs. Maybe one blows off in the wind. We ran into an issue last year that they were on back order, weren't they? The signs, when we had folks that were interested in supporting the PAC. I think we underestimated.
We couldn't get them fast enough.
Yeah, which is a good thing. I like to think that.
It was a good thing. It was a lot of positive support in May and March, or no, in March.
Time flies.
Everything's kind of
when you think about it, and COVID really changed the dynamic of
Yeah.
everything, not just the classrooms and the campaign, but just our day-to-day living. We had an extended period of time where, when the schools were closed, we had to transition to remote learning. So that's not something that you really have a checklist of, well, how do we do that? We had to sort of figure it out on the fly, not just the teachers, but also us as parents on how we're going to support that.
It was definitely a transition for everybody to suddenly drop of a hat and change the way the entire world worked, essentially.
Yeah, we had to figure it out, and we're still going to have that challenge. Even with the school levy going on, we're going to continue to have that challenge with what's this new normal going to look like and stuff like that.
Yep. Now, in terms of financing, I know that as a PAC, we are donation funded only, and the importance of financing and funding a school, because the school itself is not legally allowed to campaign for itself.
Correct.
It is only legally allowed to provide data, which is important because as a PAC, we wouldn't have that information without the school's ability to tell us what their budget is.
Right.
So as a PAC, we would have no idea how much the school has already cut. We need the treasurer from the school to be able to give us that information.
Yes.
So they provide data, and we are the ones that are going to be saying vote yes or vote for issue
Right.
21.
Support issue 21, vote for the schools. I had to educate myself a little bit on the intricacies of the finances, because
So
coming
complicated.
from a military background, the concept of a school levy was very foreign to me. And that's actually, I'll show this book here that we have, if it's available. It's called the Ohio School Finance Blue Book. It's by Dr. Robert Stabile, maybe Stabile, I don't know. But this is one of these few books that you can actually judge by its cover, and I say that because it sort of shows you how these levies work, where it's got the white line, and that's how I learned, okay, when a levy is passed, that means that there's an increase, so we're supporting our schools, and the reason why that this line is flat is because that's all they get, and that's because of House Bill 920. I didn't really want to read the whole nuance of House Bill 920 to be able to figure that out. But this red line was the expenses, and so it's an incline, it's a ramp. It's
Inflationary-based expenses.
It's an ADA compliant ramp, but it's going up nonetheless. And we're kind of in this lull where the levy amount or what we're receiving is not enough to match the expenditures. And I think that's important for people to be aware of. I think I care very little about how people vote. You can be for it, you can be against it. There are some that are not in a position where they can
To be able to afford the increase, yeah.
Exactly, and so I just would want people to vote on the facts and arrive at their own conclusions if this is something that they can support. I'm invested, and I think it's really important that we be there for the schools because, you know, they're hurting for everybody's hurting.
Yeah.
Right? This COVID transition and the challenges. But I think it's important, if you want to take a look at that book, maybe we could post a link on that in post-production or on the website. But it was very informative, and it was an easy read.
It is on the website. If you go to the other resources that don't have a home tab at the very bottom in the levy information section, there is a link to that book.
Very nice. Interesting. I did not know that. But
we read it as well because it is
You did?
Yep. I bought my copy at UD. It is technically a textbook that they use in one of their financing classes.
Imagine that. See, I don't come from a finance background, so I had to kind of learn it myself. Now I felt like the student when I'm teaching someone cybersecurity stuff that they don't really know. Well, here's me as like the pseudo quasi.
But he has a PhD. I figured he probably knew more about this than either one of us did to begin with.
There commands a certain amount of respect. You don't just get that without really
a bit of
truly,
education
yeah,
under your belt.
you got to be true to your craft to get that. But yeah, that's kind of the pack overall. That's kind of what I do and a little bit about me.
Well, that's cool. Thank you very much for coming on and helping us to sort of put together an episode. I think the community isn't aware in many cases that this support is out there and aware of what we do as a citizen-led, donation-funded organization to support the schools. There is a lot of confusion as to what exactly the PAC is. It's just people who work together to help support the school district because it's important for a community. It's such a large part.
I absolutely agree, and I would also put the offer out there. If anyone is not sure and wants to find out, they can reach out to me. I'm sure they can reach out to you.
We would happily talk about all this stuff.
I'd be happy to have an opportunity to talk with some of those that might not know a lot about the school levy, even those that might be in opposition to, because maybe it would afford me an opportunity to understand what some of their concerns are, their qualified concerns, so that maybe I can share what some of my concerns are. I mean, the more you know, the better off I think we'll be overall.
Yeah, it would be good to be able to have the opportunity to have a conversation with somebody who may not be aware or may have different perspectives in the subject. So yeah.
Never hurts.
Nope, really doesn't. But thank you so much, and we appreciate this, and we're glad you could come on and you could talk to our viewers a little bit about the situation and make it a little more clear.
Well, thank you for having me.
And we will see you again next week behind the cameras. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening. We hope Nick and I could shed a little bit of light on what exactly Citizens for Sugarcreek Schools is. That way, there's a little bit of misconception or misinformation, and hopefully we could clear a little bit of it up. So have a great evening, and we hope that you guys will be back next time.